Today I'm sharing how to make DIY doll head planters out of cheap thrift store doll heads. I'll be sharing a faux clay paint technique that's super easy to do, and these doll head planters are perfect for styling your painted furniture or decorating your home. So just let me get set up and I'll be right back. Let's start. Here's the fun part. So my sister and I were in the thrift store the other day looking for furniture to restyle, and I don't know why this thrift store had so many of these doll heads on their shelves, but they really caught my attention and my eye. I don't know about you, but I used to play with these dolls as a kid, and I would spend hours doing different hairstyles. I used to put makeup on them, and I always wanted to pretend I was a hairstylist and give them a really good haircut as well. These doll heads were selling for between $3 and $5 each, and I finally decided on 3 different sizes because I had an idea that I could turn them into head planters. So once I decided on my 3 different sizes, I cashed out, and here's what they look like in my studio. Now it was time to work some magic and turn them into authentic looking clay head planters. I started by removing all their accessories. So I took off the necklace, I took off the little clothing, and the one had an extra sort of plastic base which was held on by 2 screws. I just had to unscrew that and remove the base. Once all the accessories were removed, oh my gosh, this was a childhood fantasy coming true. I took a pair of scissors and cut all the hair off, all the long hair off the 3 dolls, giving them a super short haircut. And the reason being is I wanted to see exactly where I was going to cut the vessel opening for the plants. Removing the hair makes it so much easier to do so. What I did learn is I would have made an awful hairstylist. Once the 3 dolls had their short little hairdos, I went in with a little pair of scissors and cut off the eyelashes on the 1 doll as well. Then taking a handsaw, I started removing the very top of the head on one of these dolls. Honestly, I don't know. I think I felt a little creepy doing it. And Nick had come in from trimming the outdoor bushes and he says, "What are you doing?" So you know what? I just recruited him to do it for me. He would never admit this, but I think he had a little fun. So we used a saw to cut off the tops of the 3 doll heads and then an oscillating tool to even them out because they need to be totally 100% even. So if you were to drop a planter in there, it's going to sit evenly. So all the planters were totally level and even topped, and now I had access to the inside of the doll heads. This is actually the part that took me the longest, which I was quite surprised. I have to say, these toy companies, they weave the inside of this hair so well, so anybody playing with these toys can't pull the hair out easily. And they do a magnificent job because what I had to do was take the little tiny pair of scissors, undo the weave on the inside of the head, and then actually pull the hair out. This part took me almost 45 minutes. I was quite shocked how well they actually weave all the hair in. Once I had all the hair removed from the 3 planters, here's what they looked like. Now for some painting fun. This faux technique is a lot of fun. I took sea spray texture additive along with chocolate paint, dried sage, and gravel road. I wanted to try 3 different colors on these since I was being experimental. I started with a little cupful or spoonful because there's a spoon included in the texture additive. So I started with a full spoonful and I mixed it in with the chocolate paint. As you can see here, it gets very thick and very, very textured. So I just blended in the chocolate. I actually added in a little bit of extra chocolate paint to smooth it out. And then I did the same with the dried sage. And you can just eyeball it and add as much or as little of the texture powder as you would like. For the gravel road, I ended up putting back a little bit of the texture because that was the color that I had the least texture going in. But it's nice just to play around and test the looks that you really like. This is just a fun little project. I was thinking if it doesn't turn out, it's no biggie. If it does, that's great. So I would just play around, have fun, and see what type of texture additive you like the looks of. Once I had the sea spray mixed in with the 3 different colors, I started painting the dolls. I just took an inexpensive chip brush and I painted it on. And there's no right or wrong way to do this. You can dab it on so you have more texture in some areas than the others. You can brush it on in some areas. Again, there's no right or wrong way. Just have fun and get that color and texture onto the doll head. The dried sage ended up being the thickest of the 3 paints that I did, and it was very thick, but actually it turned out really well because I used it on the largest doll head, which had the eyes that would open and close. And once the texture went into the eye sockets, it just kept the eyes totally closed and it looked fabulous. So I didn't have to worry about them at all. Here's what the 3 head planters looked like right after they were painted. And now it was time to leave them dry. Because there is a lot of texture on here, it needed to dry for a good few hours. So this is where I went and ran a few errands, went for a car wash. I just let it dry, do its thing before I went back and started adding the faux clay technique onto it. Once I got back home, they were totally dry, and here is where I added a faux clay finish. I just poured the same 3 colors onto a paper plate, and taking any sort of paintbrush, it doesn't really matter what type, then you can start layering on the different colors to give it a bunch of texture and dimension. So here I am with the smaller planter. It has gravel road as the base coat, and I'm dabbing on the dried sage just randomly. And then what you can do is take a damp shop cloth or damp towel or rag, and you can just blend it in until you actually like the looks of what you see. After I dabbed on the dried sage, then I moved on to the chocolate. And here I am taking a blue shop towel, which I always keep in my shop. I'm misting it with my water mister to get it damp. And now I'm just going to blend and have those colors kind of blend together so it looks more natural. Again, there's no right or wrong way to do this. You can just keep playing with it until you really like what you see and it starts looking authentic to you. And I have to say, projects like this are so much fun, and it actually gives me a creative edge. At least I believe it gives me a creative edge when I'm painting and styling my furniture. Reason being, these are great for props and styling furniture or your home decor, either or. However, using different paint techniques on smaller projects often inspires me to try something different when I'm painting my furniture. So it's a really good way to test out the way paint reacts and the colors, how they react to each other, and different faux finishes before you actually take on a larger project such as your furniture. I used the exact same technique on the other 2 doll head planters, just kind of rearranging the colors that I'm doing it in, or the order that I'm doing the 3 different colors. And then on the 1 medium planter, I added a little terracotta into it to give it a totally different look, which really warmed it up and gives it like a clay sort of beautiful finish. And for the largest doll head planter, I added a little bit of green. And was it olive green? Oh, I don't recall what green it was, but I have it on my blog post. I'll link it down below. So I added another green just to give it some green undertones, which gave it a more mossy sort of concrete look that's been sitting outside. So let's go back to the before. Here's the before. And here's the planters after. And I have to say, this was such a fun little project, so easy to do. Again, it kind of keeps my creativity on spot because it helps me figure out how to paint furniture and different faux techniques I can use on larger pieces. So if you ever have the urge to do these smaller projects, I really encourage you to do so. It's so much fun and it really sparks some ideas as you're working on them. So I hope you've enjoyed today's video and it's inspired you to try something different. Thank you so much for joining me today. You can also find me over at salvagedinspirations.com, where I have over 500 furniture painting tutorials teaching you how to make your furniture beautiful. I'm also on social media, on Pinterest, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And I just want to thank you so much for all the support you guys have been giving me on this channel. I have been having a lot of fun doing these weekly videos. Thank you for all your suggestions, and I look forward to seeing you again next week. Have a fabulous week and take care. Bye, guys.